Hail to the owl.
Yeah.
You're underneath the microscope. Now you can talk.
Just a note for those, if you're looking at this, we just began the recording, not much has transpired in the meeting, and we're at the point where West Central Initiative Fund's gonna begin their presentations. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Jill Amundson, resident of Ashby, also the impact evaluator for West Central Initiative. I have a giant folder in front of you, and Camille's gonna go through a lot of the information inside and what's new. I just wanted to state, we've been expanding, but it doesn't mean we're not doing all of the great things we used to be doing. So in your folder right away, there's the lifetime impact sheet. That goes through the grants and loans. We still host community funds. We're proud to do that. Your community funds in Grant County have granted out $100,000 in the last 2 years. We've also been able to give out grants from the West Central Endowment Fund totaling approximately $130,000, and then business loans of almost $74,000 in the last 2 years. We serve as both your community foundation and your economic development district. Thank you, Commissioner Wobotny, for sitting on that board for us. We sure appreciate it. One of the new things is the state has granted us funds from the State Competitiveness Fund to assist municipalities in applying for clean energy and infrastructure grants. We have a new staff person we're sharing with the University of Minnesota to make sure that we can make the most of that grant, get those federal and state funds into the communities that need them the most. So if you have projects that are eligible, please go to our website, fill out the form so that we can get researching on the grants that might be available for the issues you're having. And I'll pass to you.
I
Excellent.
got a question. You mentioned loans.
Yes.
Would you give us an overview, or if someone as an example, or how impactful and what's some of the outcomes of the loan program?
Sure. So we have a couple of loans in your sheet on the right. Nope, they moved it left side. I think there's a loan sheet in here. It's like this. Just talks about the different programs that we offer. In most cases, we serve as a gap financer. So the bank is lending the majority of the funds, but there needs to be more equity built in. So we step in as kind of the partner in that with the business owner to make sure that that loan can come to fruition. We have impact as far as what other loans. The matching loan funds, but I don't know that I have that dollar amount. I can send that to you after this meeting as well. We also have microfinancing available, especially for new businesses or small businesses that want to do an expansion. So we have 3 loan officers in-house, Greg Wagner, who's been with us for 15, 16 years now. Kate Mudge, also from Ashby. She's been there 3 years now. And then Phil Hintz, who was hired this year. Were there any specifics that I can attempt to give you? Sorry.
I think that was fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Camille Pearson Walls, and I work with West Central Initiative on our development team. And in your packet, I just wanted to go through a couple of things. You most likely would have received this brochure last time when we were here. It talks about the 6 initiative foundations that are located across the state of Minnesota so that all counties are represented. We began about 40 years ago with seed money from the McKnight Foundation. And it's a true gem that an organization like West Central Initiative is in this region and representing the 9 counties and 82 cities. I grew up in North Dakota. We don't have such luxury to have a group of people looking out for us and trying to build what communities are hoping to see, that our services and programs that are available for the people who live here, and then for the next generations to have opportunities for those folks to come back to the community in which they were raised. So this is a great overview of the initiatives and then how the regional development organizations overlap, for which we are one. In this packet, this is our recent annual report that was just released, maybe about a month ago. And it talks a lot about the programs we're doing, how we're impacting the region. And technology is really cool. You will see QR codes throughout the brochure. And when you scan them with your phone, it's a video short videos that talk about, the work and the impact. So I encourage you to, give it a look. On the left side, you will see the demographics, that we pulled for the region, talking anywhere from the makeup of the people living here, the age, and talks a little bit also about incomes, and it's just a great tool to use as you're thinking about other planning, that will occur in your area. Jill did talk about the loan program. Another thing that we are really proud of, and it's a newer program in the past year, rural democracy. So we know in communities such as Grant County that we need a lot of our citizens to step up and hold civic positions, such as yourselves. I think there's over 400 positions in the 9 counties. And so in order to help people better understand what these roles look like and how to be really effective leaders, we provide several different programs throughout the year. So we really want to make sure that citizens know that we value what they bring to the community. And so we want to prepare them as best we can. So if anybody has questions about that, please direct them to West Central Initiative.
And I just want to add to that, the latest research from Ben Winchester, the rural sociologist, Grant County needs 1 in every 8 of us to step up to be either a commissioner, city council member, board member for a nonprofit. We've often joked it's like the same 10 people have to do all of the things, and this program is trying to help spread that workload among more of us.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna interject something here. Can you address whether you're involved in all in the emergency management services, which we know is not considered an essential service? It's a huge issue in the state of Minnesota and in our local area. Are your efforts involved in that area?
We're doing our best to do that. So one of the reasons that we've gotten into climate action is there's a lot of emergency management repercussions for what may be coming in the next 10 or 20 years. So we've been searching for grants from federal government, EPA, MPCA to make sure that we have those resources coming to emergency managers. I've been in contact with them actually last month on a grant opportunity, just trying to make sure that we can do as much as we possibly can. So we're not directly related, but we try to be a good partner to the people you have in office there.
Are you at the table with the people in St. Paul and what's going on?
We support the League of Minnesota Cities in their work as far as lobbying efforts go. And we have strong relationships with our representatives and senators to make sure we can be doing anything they ask of us, really. So as you probably know, the legislature in the last couple of years have named specifically West Central Initiative for some of those grant funds. And we want to make sure that we are advocating for that use, of which emergency management, I agree, is one of the top needs for our area.
Thank you.
In addition to some of that work, we also have an early childhood initiative coordinator that represents this region, Kari Kraft. And some of the work that we've done in food systems and agriculture are with Growing Grant County. So West Central area schools, and you see the greenhouse and now their mobile food processing trailer, which is really exciting. We've been a lovely partner with those folks, and Bill was at our Start a Ripple event at Roosevelt Hall in the last couple of months. So we brought citizens together to talk about the vast programs that we're working on and the partnerships and the impact that's being made. So really a lot of outreach to let people know that we're here, make sure people who are looking to start businesses know about loan programs. So just a pretty good awareness campaign. And it also ties into what we have in here. We're running a Start a Ripple campaign. That's not only to create awareness to the broad programs, but it talks about 4 areas in which we are also, asking cities and community members to help support us in our work and our expanding programs as it pertains to climate, as it pertains to early childhood, matching grant programs, and also our rural belonging and rural democracy programs. So, any questions?
I want to point out a couple things. I'm just not here just for my looks. I just, Ken, it's a good question about emergency management services. I know it's in the news and that, and I think, invite us to the table if you're getting in some of those conversations. And you're, and Commissioner Wabani would, as a member of our EDE board, bring those could be brought up and maybe there's something else. I mean, we're always, like Jill says, we're always open to having a cup of coffee and say, what can we do with somebody? And maybe, who knows where some of those conversations lead. That's what I've found a lot in my work. On page 14 of the annual report, there's kind of a snapshot of our planning services. Whereas we talk about small business development support, housing plans, sustainable food. We help navigate some grant writing and community economic development. I think there's a new grant writing, that we don't have in here yet. I think it's
State competitiveness funds,
the
yeah.
state competitive. Okay, so some of that help and anyway, that was a nice little snapshot on page 14. The other thing that's kind of cool, I was looking at, I used to work for DEED in the region. On this data sheet, if you're asked somebody in 10-year increments, what's the highest percent of population in Grant County age-wise? And I'll just say it's 55 to 64. The second highest population age-wise, 5 to 14. So you have, and when you're doing things like building a splash pad here in Elbow and some of the other parks and things, these that the young families they want, it's a big group of population coming up. So that portends to a pretty good future for your county. So just a couple things I wanted to point out. Any questions? Any comments?
All complaints direct them to Rick.
Yeah, that's why I put, yeah, that's why my card's on top.
I entertain a lot of these economic development authorities. They gotta get more involved and then we gotta do it as, instead of a city by city and things like that, everybody get in the same room. And and those conversations will compound and everything else. When we work together toward a common goal, I think it's a better fit.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just being, well, Barrett's doing this and Hoffman's doing this and Elbow Lake's doing this. It's gotta be a well-rounded mission, if you wanna call it that.
And Commissioner LaValle, we also present to city councils, and that's one thing. I presented to 25 city council meetings a couple of years ago. We did 80 of our 82 city councils. We have 82 cities in our 9 counties. We gave a similar presentation, asking for support, asking for what's the issues. And I remember one of the takeaways from that is the sharing of, this city got this done. This city's looking to do that. Can they talk? Can they get together? And this collaborative effort and sometimes I'm the way I work a lot of times, just like I like to brainstorm, or I just like to, because and people say, well, you got to have an agenda to talk, and sometimes I don't, and Jill's smiling because she knows it's right. But these things sometimes bubble up and you play off each other's ideas and you do get things sometimes without an agenda. It's just almost as powerful as having, we're gonna get this built, or we're gonna address this issue. Yeah, but there might be other peripheral things. And that's why when we talk about even the when we have these, we just had a 17 rooms event, it was called, and it was in Morris last week. And we divided up in groups and talked about all these components of a healthy life in our communities. And got together in small groups. So what little things can we do in the next 12 to 18 months? And that report should be coming out here probably next month even, but getting together and just having that freedom to say, how can we be better? How can we help? How can we, this issue is out there.
So we need to foster recruitment at the same time, because we're all getting older, okay, so the next round of people, whether it be on you guys' board or any of these other, you know,
Absolutely.
ventures that are going on.
Yeah,
You know, I like to see people get involved, whether they're, you know, on these boards or not, that's the best thing, because then they kind of get wrapped up into it, get their head around it and get involved.
Yeah.
But they gotta show up to be able to do that. Right, you just can't sit and read brochures and then that's the end of it, you know?
We should start inviting our young people to these meetings so
Right.
they start to hear what's going on around
Right.
them, because this is their future.
It is.
I got a question on your 17. whatever that's called.
Sustainable development goal.
So on number 6, you got clean water and sanitation, and you got life below water and life on the land.
Mhm.
There's a huge amount of money. We're on watersheds, one watershed, one plan. And maybe Greg can help me a little bit, but there's a lot of funding to address what's going on with water. Now, I see you're addressing it. Are you working in conjunction then with what's happening in those organizations and the funding that's coming through?
Yep, our colleague Mark Kelke was the facilitator in the One Watershed, One Plan for the Otter Tail County and East Otter Tail County. We were invited to do that, and we're always happy to be partners in that way. Rick mentioned the 17 rooms. I got to oversee the clean water and sanitation. There's a lot of work that some of our smaller communities need as far as infrastructure. And so we as a West Central Initiative are working to find the best way possible for example, Norcross, who doesn't have the tax base to take a loan. What are the ways that we might be able to stack some grants to help them with maintaining that water and wastewater treatment?
lead pipes, and that came up right away too.
Yeah.
And the old landfills that are leaching. And some of that water is being contaminated, because back in the day, you know, when I was a kid. It took things to the dump and threw it in there, it was like open.
Right.
You know, and the sinkholes were the dumps a lot of times, and what do the sinkholes do? But anyway, it's issues that we, like Joe says, we're looking, we can be at the table at those too, so.
We're doing our best
Yeah.
to be good partners, and where you see opportunity for us, please do invite us in. We'd love to be of assistance.
Joe, you brought up Norcross. Now, you know, have you met with the city council over there?
Yes,
Okay, and they know how old their infrastructure is?
they do.
Well, they want, you know, a street or a road or a county road to be able to be upgraded. And I took a snapshot of the hydrant that was over there, and it's a 1959 hydrant, so that tells you that the main underneath that road is 1959.
Correct.
Okay, and a lot of the saddles and a lot of the services, you know what I mean, where that feed those houses and stuff like that. You know, you put a brand new road over the top of it, you're gonna be digging through it. So they would really entertain some type of an improvement over there if we can get something done there.
Yes,
But that's gotta be on, they gotta take the lead, okay, and then, you know, there's, you know, partners out here. USDA revolving funds, things like that, you know, they gotta step up if they want. You know, if they want their town to stay, you know, somewhat vibrant in those real estate, you know. Tracts of land and things like that, and people wanna live there and things like that, so when you got a low population and you got that kind of infrastructure cost,
right.
it's pretty much unsustainable, right?
That's
So,
why we're working with them.
good, glad to hear.
And
Thank
you can almost say, you know, that same scenario on how many towns, and we start even our
Yep.
region, then state, and. You know, like there's not enough money to go around to get it all done.
No.
But we're gonna be
And-
fighting for our share anyway.
Right, right. And I'll echo this, you know, the city of Elm Lake, when I was working for them, we improved this town, you know, so there's all, you know, brand new water main and storm sewer and, you know, catch basins and curb lines and things like that, you know, so the improvement that started 30 years ago. When we first started, we had a dozen water main breaks every year. Okay, well, now they don't even have any. You know, and of course, the tower come online and it got closer to the plant and things like that. So there's been a lot of infrastructure that's been put in this town. And this town is light years ahead of the nation on services and streets and, you know, improvements. So, yeah,
Good job.
it needed to happen.
You got 1 minute for your closing
Yeah.
argument?
I think we caught you up.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, and familiar faces, thank you guys.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate all your support and helping.
Yeah.
I say my card's on top. I'm ready for coffee anytime, and I'll buy.
Don't make me
Okay.
forget.
Sounds good. Okay, it's now 9:30 in the Highway Department, County Itch petition. Aaron.
Okay, so. What date? 8th of April, I received, 2 petitions separately to use Grant County Ditch 8 as an outlet. The reason it's 2 is because Daniel Oakes owns one parcel and Ronald McRoberts owns another, but Daniel farms both of them. So we received those petitions. And I looked at the parcels and the water does in fact drain into Grant County Ditch 8. They are not paying benefit on Ditch 8.
So
And
could I interrupt you quick?
Yeah.
So we got the email from Chad. Are we addressing the McRoberts petition or the Oaks or both?
both,
So should we focus on one or the other? Or-
it's hand in hand.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Did he send you this?
Yes.
Yeah, so. He's doing a tiling project. That's why this is coming up is. I received this permit from the Boyd of Sioux. And he's gonna outlet right into just before where ditch 8 starts. So, and then I looked at the numbers and looked at the parcel that we. Also petitioned into ditch 8 last year, or the year before, using the same numbers. So parcel 090109-000 is 140.72 acres. And at $1.30 per acre. So the benefit amount for that parcel will be $182.94 with a $500 outlet fee. And parcel 09-0110-500, it's 148.98 acres at $1.30 per acre. Equals $193.67 for benefit amount, and then with the $500 outlet fee. And it's my recommendation that the board approve these petitions at those amounts. That's all I got, unless you guys got any questions for me.
Currently, all the water from both of these would be going into ditch 8.
Yep.
There's the south end wouldn't go down to 5 Mile.
No, no, they both go north. And even if, I see you're probably looking at that, a watershed line there. Even if they don't, or even if the south parcel does go south, which I don't think it does, just looking at LiDAR. It doesn't matter because the Boyd of Sioux is approving that. And they're ultimately the permitting authority to cross sub-watershed lines.
Well, it's all gonna wind up in 5 Mile anyway. It's just
Right, it
how
just,
quick it gets.
do we go this way or that way?
So the Board of Sioux is given the blessing, that's correct?
Yeah, and they're just waiting for us to approve this. And then I'll tell them if you guys approved it, and then he can go ahead and do his tiling project.
So the outlets, so they haven't, you have to have gates or anything on them or not? Cause the other one we did, I was just wondering.
This one isn't showing a gate. Just a gravity outlet. Whatever is shown on the Boyd of Sioux permit is what they were gonna do.
So is that question material and should be addressed or not?
I don't think so, no. And Daniel is here. I don't know if you got anything to add?
Really, I guess.
Greg?
Well, I guess the only thing I'd comment on, and I've worked with Wolves, they're the ones who are doing the project for you now. So the outlet then will be dumping toward a protected water, so we'll have some setbacks we have to meet. And I know the scale of these drawings is, it's pretty high level, but, you can see there's a couple of tracks where there is no tiling. And that's because there's wetlands present, right? So there will be some setback requirements for the tiling. So this drawing may not be. Yeah, hard, not something very. Yeah. So. But it may, at this scale, it's hard to tell that. There's gonna be some wetlands involved where the tile may have to be moved further a little bit.
We're non-perforated going through the,
Yeah, or not, yes, like, we can't degrade wetlands.
if the grade, you're gonna have to stay on the grade. A lot of times it's just do
Right.
something to that degree.
And
So,
as far as a comment about the gating, I know, the way it's set up now, Boys the Sioux, if it's a pump system, they require that in the spring, if there's flooding going on, that the pumps not be running, and I suppose since you guys are the ditch authority, there is the ability for you guys to require that gates be put on, if that's something you're adamant about, but I don't know. But there may be opportunity in the spring when the system's pretty full, where you can, just make it so that the gate had to be shut until after flooding ceases or something. That's not that uncommon. You see those all over the place.
Well, the reason I asked is because for whatever reason across the road when Severn's done that, there had to be one there. That's the only reason I asked.
Okay,
And I can't remember, did the Boy de Sioux require him to?
I don't,
Yeah, I can't remember if they did or if you guys required it. I mean, you could make that a condition to,
So what is that, like a screw gate? And you just stop and check the water, is that what that is?
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen on that seven, so I don't know what that looked like. But I do know when it's flooding and stuff like that, they gotta shut these lift stations off, so, it kind of stands to reason.
yeah, what we'll have to maybe do too is just see what, we've got the floodplain of that channel going through there. And it might even be advantageous to have one on there, because if the system is full, it might backfeed and flood the fields. And that maybe is something to consider. A lot of times they'll slam them gates shut so that when the ditch gets too full, it doesn't back out into the field.
Right, it'll push the dirt back up into the, if there's dirt into the pipe and things like that.
so Aaron, I got a question. So we've had some comment. And we got a petition, and that you're asking us to weigh in on it. And Greg, these conditions or comments, where in the process do we ensure that they're addressed?
I would,
Where's the chicken and the egg
I
here?
would just, so if you approve these. Petitions to use ditch 8 as an outlet, you could say on using this condition that, he put a screw gate in, and then I would respond to the Boy de Sioux's permit saying. The board has approved this with this condition.
So I gotta
The
ask,
only thing I'd add, Ken, is then that I'm aware of this permit request as well, and I was letting it go through the process, seeing where it goes. So now if the petition is allowed and the water and the system is to be placed, then I would work with the landowners to ensure that they're not violating any wetland laws.
so the check and the balance, then, if let's say we commence to approve it. The checks and the balance then comes,
Yeah,
In
and
the-
irregardless, yeah, I mean, even if this wasn't a petition to get in, if this was just a project, I would still work with the landowner. So we don't necessarily have to have a condition that says that wetland rules will be followed, they have to be followed, that's not conditional, that's here, that's
we-
state law.
and we don't,
I'll work with those guys on that part, it's just, if you guys feel that you need to manage this for flooding in the spring because, you know, 3/4 of this project, the water kind of wants to go south and west and not north, and you're gonna really tax that system potentially, maybe in the spring. I don't, not hydrologist, but.
So
that's
the
what
one,
Severance's did, I don't.
so the one component that wouldn't fall under that's normal procedures, would that be the gate? So is there anything additional that we need to address to make sure that it's right, that won't be covered later? That, I don't know if I said it right, and does that make sense, Aaron
Approve
and
the
Greg?
permits with the one condition that a screw gate be installed.
Yeah, say that again.
Just approve the permits or the petition, excuse me, that with the one condition that a screw gate be installed on construction.
Yep,
If we let history guide us, we should not be putting in a gate without an operation and maintenance plan, or we're setting ourselves up to fail. Everybody involved will be mad. Everybody. So if you're gonna have a gate in there, when is it open, when is it closed? Or you're just setting yourself up for fighting for decades.
so Daniel, you're in the room, right? You're Daniel Oaks?
Yeah, I'm Dan Oaks.
Uh,
Buller, they call me.
Have you, the gate issue, and Troy, and I agree with him, because we have had this discussion.
Yep,
What's your position on?
well, you know, I think there's only one intake on the thing. It's a little pond there by the barn, but, you know, I can see, you know, it's one thing, somebody's gotta say, okay, shut the thing, you know, and it's one of those deals, I guess, but, I don't know how much water is gonna be coming out of that in the spring, you know, on the natural flow, you know, versus a pump system. I guess I've never been really around too much of a bigger area like this, or how much water's coming out of there in the spring. I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but that's. You know,
So Greg, weigh in on Commissioner Johnson's comment. Well, I get a cup of coffee.
Well, Troy's spot on, and how, the reason I even referenced it is because Boise Sioux does have a policy, right? Those pumps are not on during A, B, C, and D. That's how it works, right? They have a policy and a plan in place. So if some kind of a stop valve or a gate was to be even considered or put on there, then you would make the recommendation that Boise Sioux would be in control of that.
And if we give the ditches to the Board of Sioux, it's gonna be underneath their discretion anyway.
Right.
And at least if it's in there. We can.
But you don't wanna have screw gate installed with no management strategy. Troy, 100% spot.
Well, cause if you look at the
We've seen it.
permit that went to Boise to Sioux, that was approved with no control structure.
Right.
So they said we don't need one.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to weigh in plus or minus on a control structure, that. I'm not trying to address whether we put one in there or not, I'm saying if you do. You need to have an operation and maintenance plan.
And yeah, like Troy said, the Boyd of Sioux's permit doesn't have one on there, so they didn't tell Wolf Tiling or Daniel that they needed one.
Right.
Well,
I think that's-
that's what my question was, if the Boyd of Sioux figured we needed one, they'd have it in there. So,
So Doyle, this is your area. You got feelings on whether they should or why they shouldn't or why they didn't or?
No, it doesn't matter to me, we just had to put one on, I don't know why we had to put one on the other one.
Yeah, and I can't even remember honestly, so.
But it doesn't matter to me, I guess, so. I'll make a motion to approve the project as stated in the Boise Sioux thing, or the Boise Sioux recommendation, and go with that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the petition. Is there a second?
second,
Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? You get 17 minutes to talk about where water flows.
Downstream,
Or upstream.
Lake
yeah,
Winnipeg.
today it might be flowing
Where are you?
upstream.
Gulf of Mexico.
It goes downstream.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yep, thanks guys.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah,
He's got a.
brother.
Right,
yeah.
That's Charlie's.
Oh, yeah. And his dad. His dad.
What do you want to, that's your call.
I don't know. I sometimes have feelings about an agenda and one of the things that we might wait a,
so this was fine.
Yeah.
so
And that.
Matt. You know what happens when we get ahead of schedule?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
Looks
put it on the
bad.
spot. You can put it on the spot.
So why don't you give us the,
Spot. So, yeah.
I'll wait till they finish.
All the time, they got the redetermined, there was not now.
A little bit of update on County Road ten and maybe what's gonna commence the, well, weather related, what would happen as far as the.
The latest schedule is next week, they're supposed to start with the curb and gutter, getting the concrete work done. Then proceed with fine grading and paving after that. With this rain this week. It'll probably be delayed a couple days, I'm guessing, so.
The curb guys gonna install the catch basins, or who's coming to do that?
No, that's, catch basins are in.
It was controls, I suppose they're in the curb line, they just gotta dig down though.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just have to pass.
The storm is in now, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do we know then with this moisture, how the extra pipes are there, are they running water through them and?
Water spawns. So kind of one of the things, whether it's needed or not, it's more just a safety issue, just to make sure. In case it freezes out or a flood that we have to go through there. But they are going right now, so the water's pretty high. It's pretty-
And we can tell at this point, because I think you mentioned yesterday, I visited that surcharge two has not moved,
No, it hasn't moved at all.
so we can be thankful and rest assured that very likely it's gonna not move.
It hasn't moved since I started here, so I think. Coming up on 8, 9 months, so.
Yeah.
It was good. From. Digging down for those pipes and everything was pretty hard.
Anything else you want to add from your department at this point?
I got 2 agenda items.
So we're a little early, Mr. Mattson, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, yep.
Are the people that you have would coming, or I know we're a little early, are they here?
Yep.
So we could commence to have you start, and Bill said it's okay if I go ahead of schedule, so go
I
ahead.
won't sit
That works for
Come
us.
on, come forward
Yeah.
and welcome.
Thanks for the opportunity to come and visit. Katie's got some handouts.
We're gonna leave you with it rather than kind of go through line and verse of it, but appreciate the opportunity to connect. We wanted to reach out to Grant County. We spent some time at the Elbow Lake City Council meeting, maybe in about an hour's worth of time, kind of sharing where we've been, what we're aiming at, and what we're about. And wanted to make sure we're connected with Grant County because we have the privilege to serve all of Grant County for the healthcare needs. And I wanted to share some information, but also wanted to listen to you and find out if you have any questions about what we've been doing. So I'm Ken Mattson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Lake Region Healthcare, so I'm responsible for kind of everything that we do, although I don't operate anything day over day. We've got the right people in the right places doing the right things. I've been around Lake Region Healthcare for about 30 years. I've been leading the place for about 5, maybe 6 years. Specific to, the Elbow Lake Medical Center, whether it's Grant County Medical Center or Aaliyah or Prairie Ridge or now Lake Region Healthcare. I've been around it for a long time, probably in earnest since 2007. When Dr. Rapp called over to Fergus Falls and said, hey, can we connect on some things? Because, we've partnered to take care of people over the years. But we need to maybe look at doing some things differently for the future. And he was really aiming at a couple of things. It was, he and Marlene Wood, had been providers for a long time. They had a tough time recruiting permanent providers. And he was thinking at some point in time, he'd like to not keep working as hard as he was. But it was a tough piece to recruit, to get people to stay beside some folks on J1 visas. The other thing that he was talking about, and the board members at the time were talking about, was a new facility. The existing facility had served its purpose, but it was time to maybe get into something. And so I was involved with Lake Region at the time. I also did a lot of financing work with USDA. And so when we started talking about the new facility, they were equally as interested in making sure that there was a strong medical staff development plan, because if you build it, you got to staff it. And then also, even at that time, they were talking about the challenges in healthcare. So I've been around since 2007, and I wasn't leading the place back then, but I think I'm kind of the last man standing around. Dr. Rapp is still around. He supports the foundation, but he's really kind of retired from the practice. So I've got a bunch of institutional knowledge, and I need to hand that off to other people as I start to get a little bit more senior. My mom was a nurse. She started to retrain herself when a business that they had in Fergus Falls shut down. So she worked at Grant County Medical Center for Dr. Rapp, and she eventually ended up in Fergus Falls and was a nurse manager and leader there for a number of years. So I remember the time that she spent here, and she benefited from some great training with Connie Wenstrom and Dr. Rapp and those folks. So I personally have a commitment to rural Minnesota. I have a personal commitment to rural healthcare. I want to see it grow. I think that the decisions are best made for all of our rural places by folks that live in the communities that they serve, that they're looking at it from a rural perspective. Lake Region Healthcare as a whole is independent. We're not hooked up to any system. We're not owned by any system. We partner with Sanford, we partner with Mayo, we partner with Essentia, but we don't, we're not owned by them. We're a community asset. I am a steward of resources that are owned by the communities. The board members that we have are those same stewards. We're here to make sure that the people and the places, the things are available to serve the healthcare consumer. We want to do it closest to home. A lot of times when smaller places get together with bigger places, they say everything's got to go to, fill in the blank community, Minneapolis or Fargo or St. Cloud. Our goal is to get care closest to the consumer. So when we think about Elbow Lake and Grant County, we think about our Herman Clinic. It'd be pretty easy to shut the Herman Clinic down because sometimes it's difficult to staff those. But when we talk to Dr. Spear about that, we talk to the staff and we listen to the community, they feel it's important to have a connection there. On the other hand, when we looked at Hoffman, it was difficult to staff Hoffman. And when we talked to the community in Hoffman, they felt that they could get taken care of at Elbow Lake, but it was close enough. So we closed Hoffman down, really to do with the resources that we weren't able to bring there. When we think about Ashby, we have consistently grown the services in Ashby. Now we're going to be open starting July 1st, 5 days a week with clinic practices with Dr. Peterson and Janice Sundin. So we are fully trying to get our places staffed up, and that includes the Elbow Lake Medical Center. Dr. Spear, Dr. Holmes are our primary doctors in that community or this community. We also have recruited Dennis Gerald, who is serving out some time in the military, really a strong practitioner, smart guy, is an MD. He's going to be joining us later on this year. And we've asked if he would spend some time at Elbow Lake as well as having a practice in Fergus Falls. So he's going to be doing probably 3 days a week in Elbow Lake and a couple of days in Fergus Falls. We're also continuing to have mid-levels like nurse practitioners and physician assistants come. Ben Graff is a Fergus Falls kid that wanted to join Lake Region. We said, yeah, let's do that, but let's get you into Elbow Lake and let's get you into Battle Lake. Ben Graff has been received, I think, really well. He's also working at the nursing home now. in a few short weeks, has probably taken care of half the patients in the nursing home in Ashby. So we're trying to create access, and grow services. Therapies is something that we've really, supported, pediatric therapy in particular. Now we have, more, therapists, in Elbow Lake. We've got probably about $25,000 we've invested into a sensory gym to grow pediatric therapy. On the good side of it, we've got a waiting list now, and that's not always good because you've got people waiting, but at least we've got that consistent flow coming in. We're doing little things like adjusting our waiting room in Elbow Lake now that we've grown that service. So we are really serious about making the commitment to serve Grant County in ways rather than just pulling it back to Fergus Falls or some other community. I think I'd also say is oftentimes we talk about the hospital. We want to be not viewed as a hospital. Yes, a hospital is an important part of our business, but the hospital in Elbow Lake has an average daily census of 1. And that's good because that means that there's not sick people that need to be hospitalized. But critical access hospitals like Elbow Lake have typically been oriented to having an emergency department to be there when somebody's clutching their chest, and to stabilize and admit if you can. But usually it's stabilize and discharge or stabilize and get to a larger center. Oftentimes that means Fergus Falls, oftentimes that means Fargo, but we try to get those people back as fast as they can. And one of the tools that we've invested in as an organization is Epic. It's the electronic medical record. It's the medical record. It's our business record. It's about a $25 million investment over 5 years, which we did. We sunsetted the EMR that was used in Elbow Lake, but this solution, it allows all of our sites to speak to each other. So Fergus Falls speaks to Elbow Lake, speaks to Hoffman, speaks to Herman, and it speaks to St. Cloud if people have to go to St. Cloud Hospital. It speaks to Mayo if you have to go to Mayo. So you can carry your record with you electronically, and your doctors and your nurses are able to look at that medical record, whether they're in Rochester or Fargo or Sioux Falls or whatever. And that's really important because healthcare has got to be portable nowadays. We've got workforce challenges just like everybody else, but thankfully we've been able to recruit providers to come to these communities. Also would think about us, more as a healthcare organization than just a hospital, because we're trying to grow our clinic services. Most people don't need emergency department day over day, but you do need access to get a Coumadin visit, or you need access to get something checked out with a nurse or a doctor, a clinic visit. So we want to grow that access and do that locally close to home. So we're increasing primary care access by adding doctors. We're also increasing local services like therapy. The other thing we're trying to do is the Elbow Lake Hospital has got a great surgical suite, but it's been underutilized over the years. So we recruited Dr. Christinia, who was trained at Duluth in a rural general surgery program. So she knows how to do general surgery in a rural setting, which is a lot different than a metropolitan facility where you've got a specialist for everything. She's got her practice in Elbow Lake. She's got her practice in Fergus Falls, but we're focusing heavily on Elbow Lake to do more surgeries there. We've also got a new podiatrist that's joining us, and we're standing up her practice at Elbow Lake to make sure that we're meeting the customers where they are and making sure that surgical suite is fully staffed. We've got 117 or so people that are employed at the Elbow Lake Medical Center. That's grown substantially over the last 10 years. Medical staff has grown substantially over the last 10 years. And that's because we're partnering to grow those services. We're also doing things like bringing plastic surgery to Elbow Lake. Plastic surgery, a lot of people think about Beverly Hills and Botox and all that type of stuff. But the first case that our plastic surgeon did was to take care of a lady whose arm was mauled by a dog bite. So that's what a lot of her practice is. She still has elective surgeries. People come from all over to have Dr. Johnson operate on her. And we're getting those people into the Elbow Lake Medical Center because it's a great surgical suite. Also, it's easier access. We've got a bunch of surgeons competing for turf at Fergus Falls. So if we can use Elbow Lake, it's better for everybody. Again, more jobs, more people come into town. That's really what we want to do. You mentioned the modernization of Elbow Lake. It's a fantastic place. Grant County, the facility that we're sitting in right now. If we invest in our rural communities, we're gonna make sure that we've got just strong places for people to come to regardless of the essential service that you need. So I think about just kind of beyond that hospital, think about a medical center. Think about what's happened with Dr. Rapp, allowing him to retire. Marlene Wood retired. We've got a lot of new practitioners that took her strong patient base and have grown that. And that's what we're about. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we satisfy everybody? Absolutely not. I bet Grant County doesn't either. What we want to do is where people aren't satisfied with their experience, we want to hear what didn't work well, and we want to fix it. We're a continuous improvement organization. And that's the way healthcare works. It's called practicing medicine, not perfecting medicine. The other thing I'd say is, if you have questions about us, come to the source. We're not about blowing smoke and mirrors at people. We want to talk facts. Some people like us, some people don't like us, but we're here for the community. We're a community asset or resource. Financial performance, that's a big question out there. I think that you've heard some folks maybe in the community that they're concerned about how we're doing and are we driving this thing into the ground. We've made a commitment to our board, which is from Ashby, which is from Elbow Lake, which is from Donley, which is from Fergus Falls, which is from Barnesville, that we won't drive anything into the ground. We'll fix out our financial situation. And I'm happy to share right now, this year, we're on an improved financial trajectory. In the packet, you'll see some information. We've got about a $827,000 positive financial result this year. That's about a 6% margin. Healthcare needs 2% to survive, to take care of our people and our places and our things. We're at 6% at the Elbow Lake Medical Center right now. That's primarily through the growth of patient service revenue, about $1.6 million better than last year. At the same time, we're doing that work with about the same workforce. Labor is about 60% of our overall expense. We need to control that. We need to invest in it to grow access. But right now, our expenses are up about 1% over last year. And that's pretty big, given that inflation takes 3% every year. So our revenue is up, our expenses are holding tight, and that's how we're able to have that 6% margin. Now, we're not in it to make money, but we do have to have financial positive results to make sure we can pay for new ambulances, new maintenance vehicles and the like. But we are performing better financially. We're committed to that into the future. So most of our financial improvement this year comes from growth from providers and therapists, and we've got those folks in place. And if the demand is there, we'll continue this financial performance to grow well into the future. It's not like we're making one-time cuts. We're making long-term investments that'll be there. Ambulance service, we thank you for the grant of $100,000 to make that ambulance available. It's north of $300,000. They're really expensive. They don't pay for themselves, as you know. But when we get it in 2025, it's going to be a better vehicle to respond to the types of things that we have to be ready for. Eric Risbrook, I think, does a fantastic job of advocating and leading EMS. Eric's passionate about what he does, and that passion comes through a lot of times, and I appreciate that about him. But he's smart about this stuff, and it's through his leadership that Grant County and Otter Tail are leading that quick response demonstration program for the entire state. If he hadn't gotten in front of that, if he hadn't shown what could be done, wouldn't given our local legislators the ability to bring that funding back to us. So we look forward to demonstrating a program that works. Lake Region Healthcare overall, the 9 communities we serve, we're invested in leading a change for EMS. It's going to take everybody thinking differently. We got to do our work different. So we look forward to partnering with Fergus Falls and Elbow Lake and Perham on that demonstration program. We look forward to partnering with Otter Tail County and Grant County, which we have the privilege of serving, to figure out how we're going to sell it to EMS. We're meeting with Ringdalls next week or the week after. They're a private agency which runs the ambulance service. Not sure how that's going to work into the future because it's tough to run a family business when you don't have positive margin. With us, we can avoid paying income taxes, which helps, because we put that money back into our stuff. We can also tap into some grants that others can't. But again, it starts back to Grant County supporting us with that ambulance. We've got a state grant for it. We've got some local charitable minded people that are supporting it as well. And we have some capital that we're committing to it from operations to make sure that that works. But without that support, it's going to be tough to make it into the future. Reimbursement, many of the government programs pay us 40 cents on the dollar of our cost. And if you're running your own business, you know that doesn't work very long. But we're not here for government handouts. We're here to make sure we can stand up on our own. Again, that's why we're trying to grow this place. But we do have to partner with those things that need public support, like EMS, and a lot of our hospital-based operations. So it's kind of me talking a lot at you, hopefully answering some of the questions that are hanging out there, but we've heard, how are you doing financially? Are you just gonna suck everything back to Fergus Falls? Are you for sale or not for sale? We think we can make this with 14 community-based board members governing us with local leadership. And not have to sign up for a system and hang, you know, some systems sign up. So decisions can be made in Elbow Lake and Fergus Falls instead of Chicago or Sioux Falls or somewhere else. Now, we support and appreciate the relationship that we've got with them, but we just don't want to become them. If that makes sense. So that kind of the high level we needed to hit.
I got a question.
Yeah, questions you got?
Dwight and Bill have served on the EMS committee in a sense that it seems to be a really important issue. If you looked at the wheel and you had a hub and you looked at Hoffman and you looked at Ashby and you looked at Lake Region or Elbow Lake, I'll refer to Elbow Lake from an ambulance EMS standpoint. Your vision, Kent, who's the hub?
That's a great question. And here's what I say, we have to look at things differently. When we talk about what the hub and where those spokes go out to. In another day, everybody could have all of their own things, whether it's a school or a fire department or a clinic or whatever. In rural America today, where resources are constrained, we've got to think differently. But we also can't abandon the communities and suck everything to one town or the other. So as I've looked at the EMS thing, and this is just since I've been thinking about this deeper since last week, we think we got to think about Perham and having a hub out there and reaching out to that aspect of Otter Tail County. We have to think about Fergus Falls and that as a hub reaching out to all of the county. And I say that primarily because Fergus Falls is right at the interstate. It's on 59, it's on 210. It's really easy to get to. And I think we have to think about Elbow Lake being that hub and spoken out to the communities in Grant County. Now, we don't do that in isolation because there's overlap between Grant County and Otter Tail County and Douglas County, and you name all the other counties around us. But I think if we focus on putting the facilities in those hubs, but making sure they can get to these communities and are partnering with those communities that have volunteer resources and other resources that are willing to staff. But I think you have to look at that model differently. Because what's happening is a lot of our communities are becoming bedroom communities. People leave the community during the day to go work somewhere else. And when you do that, you can't be there to respond to an ambulance call. Right? That's one of the constraints that you've got. So how do we leverage full-time resources like you can do with Carrie and Eric at Elbow Lake with volunteers coming from somewhere else and conserving the human resources in these broad geographic areas to get to the places that they need to fast. And there's no time to waste. And you also have to have highly trained people get to these places as well. So you want an answer? I gave you that one. I think that's what we need to do.
So I gotta stop you there.
Bunch of coordination.
So now I'm gonna ask Bill and Dwight.
Yep.
Since they've been kind of leading this. Let's say Kent's vision as the hub is accurate. Then where are we going, Bill and Dwight, and how do we lead that from Grant County's standpoint, if that's Kent's vision?
Well, my thoughts are, that Elbow Lake is the hub. cause that ambulance covers the whole county. And, you know, Ashby's a great ambulance too, in Hoffman, but, Elba Lake does cover the whole county. They got, jurisdiction to go anywhere in the county. So that's how I see it, what we gotta do to make sure that those volunteers keep showing up, we gotta work on that. But Grant County as a whole has a real good EMS system. But to keep it that way, 5-6 years from now, it'll be tough with the age of the volunteers. Ashby's main 3-4 guys are 70 years old, over 70, so, but that's how I see it. Even before we knew about the sprint car, we've been talking about how do we sustain this EMS in this county.
Yeah.
And working with Eric and Spock up in Ashby and Hoffman ambulance. You know, we're still planning things, even with the sprint car deal going on. We're gonna be talking about how do we sustain that in this county? The EMS, because, you know, I was a sheriff for 22 years, and when we get out on those scenes, I knew EMS was coming, or they'd beat us there, and people expect that. They expect the fire department to come, they expect EMS to be there, but they don't really understand that EMS isn't essential. And you know, there's no retirement plans there for them really, and things like that, so. But EMS is, I slept better at night knowing they were out there when these calls come in. Yeah, so, Bill?
You pretty much, you know, wrapped it up there. The whole thing of it is we gotta recruit people and we gotta retain them. Okay, well, people aren't gonna go for a half a day ambulance ride, leave their job, or, you know, if they're private employment or, you know, for $50, they're just not going to. So we need to foster, you know, that recruitment and retainment and things like that, and training, and get people so they're interested in, and I think they should start at the schools a little bit and get those guys going, which they already do. You know, it just said, it takes money to do this, right? And everybody's gotta understand that, you know, it's a commitment as a county, because, you know, our, you know, public or service area here has gotta be covered through the county as well. So instead of the towns and everybody else you know, honing up on things like that, I think this is something that we gotta look at budgetary times and make sure that everything stays sustainable, and they feel like we're listening and we care. That's where I'm at with it. Right? So
So if we stay on the hub analogy, Doyle, what's your feelings from your district?
Well, we were, you know, in Herman, and I'm not exactly sure, but back when I was on the rescue squad and fire department, Travis Wheaton came and Elbow came and Morris came, because we're kind of in the middle of all of them, and I think right now it's still kind of the same way. You know, the western part of town, Wheaton and Norcross. And I think Elbow Lake is coming Norcross too, but like the southern part is closer to Stevens County, so that's the way they go, and I don't know, there's really no good, I mean, right answer for that. I mean, it's just gonna have to, when you're kind of out away from everything, that's just the way it's gonna have to be, what I would say.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Thoughts?
Well, to me, it's much larger than to say we need Elba Lake as the hub. It's a discussion that's gone on for a long time. One of the recent meetings we had where we had all the fire departments from the county is we're talking about, if I'm in Hoffman, can I respond to something in Hoffman? Does the insurance from Barrett cover? Because it's a personnel cost. The equipment, you can write a check and buy equipment. But you have to have people with that. So it's more than just, you know, okay, Elk Lake's gonna be our hub. Can you keep that staff? It's the people.
Yep. So. Just a thought from Ken is. We've talked quite a bit about this and we got committee members and I'm representing Hoffman and I hear, you know, some of their concerns or comments. But I think what's really important is that we formulate a vision and a desired outcome. And we need to communicate that vision and desired outcome. And now, will it change? Very likely, just like business plans change. But if we're asked to make decisions at this level and we're fragmented at some point, staff-wise, different, I mean, we really need that vision and desired outcome to be communicated in writing at a point where this is where we really want to go. And that would be the one challenge. If we agree, the hub analogy, if the hub is gonna be in Elbow Lake, then that vision and desired outcome has gotta be communicated, and so we work towards it. The comment on that, Kent?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. What I would say is it does take a plan, it does take a vision, and what's that desired end state? And the way that we approach things is we have to collect information from all the stakeholders to get their input. And in particular, the knowledge about what each community needs. So I think you can come up with, maybe already have that and been deeply involved in that. But if you've got all the information of what each of the community needs and what they can bring to the table, I think that can develop that shared vision. And then how do you get there? But we just have to be really, I think, candid with each other. And if you look 5 years into the future, which sometimes helps by looking 5 years in the past, everything has changed in healthcare in the last 5 years, and that's going to change, and that's not going to change. So if you look 5 years in the future, where we need to be, that's what I think we need to do as communities. And I think with the legislature and the folks that are around here, we can put something together pretty quick. We can come up with this rural EMS regional vision that works and get some funding from the state to support that. So I don't diminish what Ashby's got for human resources or Hoffman or Barrett. It's going to take everybody. It's going to take this village of a county to make it work. So it's not a takeover, it's a collection and collaboration and aggregation. We just got to look at that differently. Best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. Second best time is to do it today. It's going to take hard work, but I think we can do it.
And just to touch on a little bit, you know, I'm a direct result of what critical access will help somebody out. You know what I mean? And whether you understand what was going on in your body or not, you know, I didn't know at the time. And I thought I was having a heart attack, so I got in my car and I drove up to the hospital and knocked on the door and they come and got me and laid me out and put 2 blood pressure cuffs on me and got 2 different readings and, oh, you're going to something, you know, Centricare in St. Cloud. You know, and my wife at the time was, I looked at her and I said, I don't need a chopper, right? Give me a ride down there. We've ordered it, you're going, you know, so that all, you know, that critical access and that connection and that, you know, response time was critical for everybody. And that's what's crucial, in my opinion. So again, you just said it. We're working as a community, whether it's in, you know, either town or, you know, Grant County as a whole has to have a collaborated effort, in my opinion. And your oncology people is up there as far as infusions and things like that. Those guys are rock stars. Good. Or I wouldn't be sitting here today. So Doc Tate was my cancer doctor, and then Marge Barnes was my oncologist for radiation. So I learned a lot when I was up there. You know, there were some things I wouldn't let them do. I don't like a port. You know, I don't want that direct infusion of, you know, chemo going right into my heart and degrading that. So I made him feed it into my arms and did unorthodox things. And Doc Tate had to set me down and said, and I thought I had 8 chemos. Okay. And I said, I'm done with that. And he goes, you haven't had 8 of the R-CHOP. And I went, Yeah, but I've had eight chemos, and I said, I'm still alive, and he looked at me and goes, you've been dancing and working and tap dancing and drinking beer and carrying on, he goes, I got 3 people over in that hospital, had 2 chemos and they can't even get out of bed. So he said, just show up on Tuesday for the last one, so I did. And I'm
Well-
here today because of it.
And that's why it works. We're also working on bringing infusions to Elbow Lake, so we don't have to drive. There's some things you have to drive for. But we're bringing infusions to Elbow because you shouldn't have to drive when you're sick. So it's a great story. We're glad that we could help. But again, it gotta set aside community boundaries sometimes, figure out that global solution. That's what we're about. So we're 100% ready to be at the table with all the communities. How can we serve, how can we solve the problem together?
So needs assessment, that critical
Yeah.
needs assessment in the beginning.
So I'd like to thank,
I would like to just lobby one thing about Pete, the insurance county, the county has, your cost level 4 is the highest. If there's anything we can do, you can do to negotiate that down.
Yeah, well, and I apologize for that one. That was a decision made by somebody who isn't with us anymore, maybe had not a community mindset on it, and we just have got now a better solution of looking at that thing community by community. So we understand that, and we need to fix that one.
Thank you.
I got another thing.
yep, go ahead.
I just want to state that Hoffman Ambulance, Ashby Ambulance, Lake Region Ambulance, they're all very necessary in this county. So, you know, I know Lake Region has the jurisdiction over the whole county, but we need Ashby up there and we need Hoffman over there. And, that's what we're working on is, keeping those 3, going in this county at a strong pace.
Yeah. Because,
Like, you know, I've seen many people that wouldn't be here anymore without the ambulance and our first responders too. All those people, and Doc Rapp, I've seen him stabilize so many people that.
Yep.
Yeah, he'd even have us in there bagging patients with him, you know,
yeah,
just to keep them alive. So we could get them in a chopper or airplane or something, so.
yeah,
So,
no, 100%, I agree. And, you know, if you take a look at our map in there, we are trying to get into the communities to make sure that we're partnering with them.
Yeah.
But not burdening them with administration stuff that people already have a busy enough day. So 100% hear what you're saying.
So I got a question for you. Are you reaching out, you know, to the federal government on your reimbursement coming back from Medicare and Medicaid at 40 cents a dollar? Because it's 60 for critical access, correct?
Yeah, it's a better reimbursement when you look at the cost plus.
Right, so this standardization, you know, it should, you know what I mean, be wherever you go, it should be the same price, right? So it should be that 60 cents, in my opinion, or whatever it takes for the sustainability.
Yeah, we were with Representative Congresswoman Fishbach yesterday in Otter Tail City talking about EMS.
Yeah,
And talking about reimbursement, and she specifically called folks together on that side of Otter Tail County to get together. So sheriff was there, some city chiefs were there, Ringdahl was there. And she's trying to figure out a way to help get some funding from the federal side of it. So it was a great meeting, but that's where you gotta look at it. So it's, again, Grant County and the communities, we gotta look with Otter Tail County as well and partner. And I think that's the way it's gonna work, because we're so interconnected as it is as counties and cities.
Larry
Like
gets
that.
it, sits on your board.
Yep.
So I get feedback from him.
So I'd
That's
like
what I do,
to thank Bill and Dwight for serving on this committee. You got a lot of work ahead of you. Also, I'd like to thank Doyle and Troy for their comments. And we're 3 minutes overdue, but I'm gonna give Katie the chance for the final, some final say, and if you could touch on Troy's final comment about the level 4.
I think you answered, we know we need to fix that.
Okay,
and
well,
that work is in progress.
but the question is, are you gonna?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've got to look into it. I'm not sure if they locked into it for a year or when we can elect back into it.
Okay.
But we'll fix it the next time it comes around.
So then I'll give you the final say for Lake Region. Go ahead, Katie.
Sure. Well, just thanks for the opportunity to be here. A big part of my role is connecting with our communities, making sure we're communicating well, so that they know what we offer and we know what they need. And one of the ways that we do that in Elbow Lake, a recent investment is that a digital billboard that's outside. And I just leave that open, that if there's ever anything that would be helpful for us to share messaging with the community, from the commissioners, from the county standpoint. That's a community resource, just like healthcare is, and it's a privilege to be here, privilege to serve, and to work together to enrich life through health.
Thank you for your presentation. You're 4 minutes overdue.
Thanks for the extra time. Appreciate it. Good to see everybody.
Thank you.
No, take
All right,
care.
Thank you.
Anything comes up, any questions, just go to, we give us a call. Our numbers and emails are on that PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Matt,
Thank you.
Highway Department.
Oh, better say hi. Pretty good.
Prints in hand it comes with.
All right, which item was first?
34 bid.
Oh, okay.
All right, last Tuesday, we did receive bids for the County Road 34 project, which is the one, Prairie Ridge Park there, that road with 2 box culverts on it. We got 2 bidders, both bids were over the estimate. Pool Excavating out of Little Falls, I've done work with them in the past, they're a small contractor. The other one was Central Specialties, right now, we're about $200,000 over what we were budgeting for this project. And since it's a county road, we'd have to use county funds as opposed to CASA dollars for that. Another item that came up is when I was researching the funding for this, based on the general obligation bond that this project is utilizing for bridge bonding. There is a, what do you want? An EEO clause that wasn't included in the proposal. That can be remedied through a no-cost change order for the project. But that would take about a month to get through that and then down to St. Paul for them to approve it. So, right now, I did speak with the low bidder, yesterday, and he would like us to award it to him, obviously. Because since he's a small contractor, he's also exempt from the EEO. And I told him I would bring that up to the board, and ultimately it's your decision to decide which route you're gonna go. With the status of the extra time it would take to do that EEO stuff. And then get permission from the state to award the bid. We probably wouldn't see any construction at all this year. So my thought was to rebid the project here in a few months. Get everything in there, make sure everything's right, and plan for a spring start on the project.
The way it looks, nothing will happen the way the water is anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty ugly down there. It's a lot of water there.
So just help me out, EEO, obviously it's an acronym, and the impact and the effect to.
The EEO stipulation would be, based on these general obligation bonds. I think it's anything over $100,000. It has to have an EEO in it, and for this one, they say the goal is 12% people of color and indigenous, and 9% female workers that the contractors would have to meet, and they would have to submit their plan to the state for approval prior to awarding a bid to them.
So when do you think you'd order the boxes if we decide to go a different direction here? March, February, March?
No, I would plan on probably having another bid opening if we go that route here in September. so they can have them built over the winter and ready to go in the spring.
So your recommendation is to reject the bids and proceed to rebid, this fall?
Yep.
Is there-
Maybe we can get a lower price.
Is there a motion to accept Matt's recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Your recommendation is approved.
Thank you. The second item I have on there is a couple months back, the board resolved to, purchase an easement from Kent County Marshall regarding the surcharge impacts that happened to their property or the wetland down there. And since the project was just recently platted due to the construction project, the easiest route to go would be to do a right-of-way map. And I worked with Pat Barrett, Luther County Surveyor, to do that work. We did get the easement and it is signed. So today, to create the parcel or the easement, I have the right-of-way map here for the board's approval.
So what we're approving is that the process for the easement and the map.
Yep, this would create the parcel, which the easement references.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the parcel that the easement references?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Is there any numbers or any specific references to them for the minutes, or is it just general terminology like we've addressed?
I believe the previous motion was to purchase the highway easement for $42,000. So this is just a continuation of that.
Does that make sense for you, Chad? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I will need your signature on them.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
thank you.
thank you. I think you got us right in spiffed up there. Thank you. Did you have something today to sign?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Better get out of here before the chairman comes up with something for you.
We have other people here know that you can ask me.
Are you next, actually? I believe you are. So we'll maybe wait till Mr. LaValle returns.
Actually, what your son do last night.
They lost.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
The card my grandson lost to.
Yep, yep,
But my grandson won.
yep, yeah, it was a good game. They played very well with Wednesday.
So they playing tonight now? down there?
This is their bye night, so they don't have a game tonight.
Oh, the Cardinals don't?
Nope,
Okay.
so they're gonna practice tonight.
Yeah. That's not all bad.
They'll play again on Thursday. So, yep.
I didn't see your email, but I did ask.
Oh, I didn't hear anything.
Oh.
I was on the phone doing payroll stuff. So I'll talk to you later about it then.
I thought the Twins Cardinal game was pretty good last night.
Of course you did.
Of course we did. So playing against his cousins,
Yep,
that's kind of,
yes, yep, and multiple teams.
yeah.
That's okay, the Cardinals got to win.
That's okay.
They
That's
don't
good.
hurt 'em.
That's all right. It's good to lose.
So I should have asked you which one was yours. In fact, I was trying to pick him out of the, where did he play or,
He was center field.
okay,
Yep,
Yeah.
he has the, he's a 9-year-old, so he has,
oh, he's a 9-year-old.
Yeah. this is his first year.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
That's a good league, good. Start him young and,
Yeah, he likes it.
yeah. Okay, Mr. Laval is back, so we'll let Ashley commence.
Moved on, well,
All
that's,
right. All right, so the first thing I'll bring back to the board from the last meeting, it was tabled. So the coordinator job description was approved. And the portion that was tabled was the hiring or the posting and the hiring of the coordinator position. It was tabled because of, to figure out the location of where the position would go. So I don't know where we sit with that. Did the building committee meet?
Yeah, we had, after the meeting, we went and talked to Rob and
Good.
he indicated he would make that space right here available by August 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it would just need approval of the posting and hiring to move forward.
So is there a motion?
We already have a motion in a second.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Okay, so then I just need approval.
Right, because we had that that
wasn't voted on.
right, but I mean, it still stands, right? Which needs to be voted on.
Right.
so we don't, we just, what are we voted on something that took place in the past? Well, help me out.
So there was a motion and a second made at our last meeting. And that question got tabled until this meeting. So currently where we stand is we have a motion and a second. So
Yes.
where you would go is into the discussion phase.
Okay, thank
It
you.
was made by Troy Johnson, seconded by Bill LaValley to advertise and hire for the coordinator position. There was no vote taken on that because then there's subsequently, there was a motion made to table that motion of advertising and hiring until today's meeting.
Correct. Thank you. So I'll ask for discussion on the original motion. To move forward with the advertising and hiring. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor of motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank
And
you.
so what office is this person going into?
The Veteran Service Office.
Okay.
Yep, and then when the move happens, then to the courthouse.
Correct. Okay,
Mhm.
September-ish. Sometime,
Whenever we're
when it's
told.
available.
All right, so the next thing is the highway accountant position. So we've had difficulty hiring for the highway accountant position, so the personnel committee, highway have met to try to come up with, creative ideas of how we can get somebody in the position. And Jamie in the treasurer's office had offered to help out the highway department in some of the accountant functions, which kind of developed and created that conversation. So it was talked about that Jamie would take on some of the higher end of the accountant duties in her office. And then we would reclassify the highway accountant into an office manager account tech, so it's a more entry level position. We feel that that would provide maybe more applicants for that type of work on the day-to-day for the highway department. So we developed or reclassified the job description office manager account tech position, which is what I sent you guys yesterday.
Yeah.
And so it goes over the functions. We took out quite a bit of things out of it. It still remains at a grade 9. But as you can see, I don't know if you have any questions on it, what I sent out. But we would be looking for approval for that position. And then to go out and hire for it.
It should grow the pool of applicants, I would assume.
I would think so, yeah. It's kind of, it's what we had, back in 2018, we did have this position. And then we had our fiscal manager with the social services was here doing, the things that Jamie will be doing. So we've had this before, this
job description we have had before.
we've had this before, yeah. And then we had, the fiscal manager doing the other things for highway back, I think it was 18, maybe, it was a while ago by now, but. So, yeah, we're looking for, approval for this job description, and then we can start hiring for it.
This is a question for Matt. What's E-Gram?
E-Gram is our online bidding.
Okay. Never seen that term before, so I didn't know.
I had a question, and I gotta find it. If you, maybe you can help me. There's something in there that addresses the website. Can you find the sentence for me?
So what I think that is, so like I had said about the website is that every department has somebody that is able to do the changing and the editing of their highway page. And so
Yep.
this position would
Let
be.
me interrupt you a second.
Yep.
Can you tell me where, can you find me, help me find, the reason is I don't know if the terminology, cause I think it addresses maintains and doesn't address necessarily that they're gonna have input on it. Help me out, what does it say? I'm trying to find it.
Right here on top. It's up on top on the right. Compiling and completing requested information monitoring highway website. Monitoring.
Oh, third one, third paragraph.
Currently, I am doing that.
And I would say it's just adding and taking off things that
It's
you
not
both are
complicated.
asking to do now.
Did Dia do some of this?
Mhm.
Okay. And Jen was
Mhm,
the count,
Mhm.
whatever,
mhm.
person.
Yeah.
And 20% of her time was billed to the highway department, correct?
Mhm.
So just to give you an update on what was going on back. That's quite a while.
Mhm.
So you need a motion to accept. And,
Accept and hire, accept the job description and hire.
okay,
There's a recommendation from the highway committee. I will make that motion, Mr. Chair.
we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? There you go.
The next thing that relates to the highway, accountant position is currently, Jamie has started doing some of the duties, helping out with the highway department. And so we've kind of collected, some of those duties, so then we'll have to bring to Baker Tilly, but today I just want approval that she can do those duties because right now it's outside of her job description. And so I just would like approval that she can do those duties until we get that final job description with the duties included.
So you would need a motion to approve the treasurer doing highway accountant duties.
Prior to the getting that. job
Prior
description.
to-
Mhm.
I'll make that motion.
Say a second,
I'll say.
discussion? I got a question, would this be some of the details that Aaron was doing? That would, no, not necessarily, no, okay. Any other,
And that is UKG, is that what?
No, that's my next thing.
Oh. Okay.
Prior to what did you say, Ashley?
Prior to, receiving the updated job description.
Okay.
you got that, Chad?
Yeah, I just, yeah, I did this.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
All right, next thing is, UKG, so. We had, went into a contract with them, in 2022, I believe, for a new payroll system, and, Jamie and I, when Jamie was the deputy auditor, we both worked very closely. When Jamie moved over to the treasurer's office, Chad was involved more on the end of it, probably. We were involved in all the meetings, to switch over to this UKG system. As we entered the system and as we got the steps into going live, it wasn't a good fit. We found many things that didn't work with our systems, or things that they didn't seem as familiar with county government type work. And we ran into some issues, with them, and I think, I don't know if Jamie's on, but I'm sure Chad can chime in a little bit, that it was very difficult. And so we came to a point in December of 22 that it wasn't going to work and we did not want to move forward anymore with it. And so I had started the termination process. And here we are in 2024 and we still are talking about it. Justin had conversations with the attorney. I wasn't involved in those conversations, but Justin was gonna be here. He had something, another conflict, but he had conversations with the legal team at UKG, went back and forth with letters. And they came up with a either they're willing to rearrange and either we can go live with them, which I don't recommend, or we can end the contract, which would cost $14,850 to end the contract. We do owe, if we were to pay, if they would require us to pay in full, it'd be about 37,000. But they're allowing us, or they're releasing our contract at that amount, so.
You see, you said if we were gonna pay in full, it would be how much?
Like 37,000.
And how does that compare to the 14 something?
So the 14, I don't, see, again, I wasn't involved in the conversations. These are just this is the email that I got from Justin. They're willing to have us pay, they're willing to, accept the 14,850. To terminate and get out. But if we were to pay like our quarterly fees, because we had owed quarterly and we weren't paying them. Because I had, talked with the sales rep that we worked with. And said that we're having issues, this isn't working, and they said, well, we'll just pause your quarterly amounts and you won't have to pay them. And so they were building up, but we weren't paying them. And so I suppose if we had to pay in full, those are the quarterly amounts, those are our yearly contract amounts and things like that, so. They said they're willing to rearrange, so we can either go live with them or pay the amount to get out.
So what I'm hearing is that we're not comfortable with UKG.
No,
What's our plan B, if we're on B or C or?
we're currently with Computer Professionals and we will stay with Computer Professionals. I'm a little gun shy to go anywhere else at this point.
So we're actually aren't even using the payroll system?
We're using Computer Professionals. We never went live with UKG. We were never comfortable going live with all the issues that we were having. And so we did not go live. We told them that we did not want to change over because we weren't comfortable with it. There were a lot of issues.
Do you have a recommendation, Chad,
My recommendation.
or thoughts?
Not change our payroll system to UKG, not go live.
So UKG must have some really great sales, because we're not the only county in this situation. We're not the only entity in this situation, and those that did go to UKG, my understanding is are trying to get out and get back to
Mhm.
CPT.
There's
So
some promises
CPT
made.
is in the middle of a huge tax rewrite, and I don't know what's next, if it's payroll, if it's cost accounting, I mean, but it's still better than the alternative.
UKG is a very large company,
Yes.
very large. Their software, I would say, is probably geared more toward large private corporations.
The company I used to work for uses.
Yes, other counties around Grant County, Douglas and Polk, just that I know of, currently use UKG, and they had I would say probably a different experience on their training up to when they actually switched. I know when we contacted Polk, they said everything was smooth. We would ask a question, in Grant County would ask a question of UKG, hey, what about, A, B, and C? The team that was assigned to Grant County would say, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this, and then of course, you pick up the phone, you call Polk County, and they're like, yeah, we know that.
Mhm.
It was just,
And we asked them, like our team, we said, we want to be set up exactly like Pope County. We can't do that. We can't cross over. That's confidentiality. We can't ask that team. I'm like, well, can we have that team then? Can we just be assigned to that team that did Pope County? Nope, we can't do that. So, yeah, there was lots of discrepancies, frustration.
As you got deeper into it, you could kind of see what was potentially coming down the road of support
Mhm.
and changes and.
Is there other parts of their product line that we use?
No.
No.
So I mean, this is,
use nothing.
No,
so we'd be totally done with them.
we, yeah, cut off.
And we would be able to get out for 14,700.
We thought we were done with them at the end of 2022.
Mhm.
So is your recommendation that we pay the
Yes.
14,700 and, or whatever that number is?
Yes,
And-
I am not comfortable going live. The conversations that Justin and their lawyers have had, their customer service and the way that they talk about Grand County is not something I support and would want to work with.
And that would be also your recommendation, Chad?
I have really not been involved in this part.
Yeah.
I just thought we were done 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
He's saying he doesn't wanna use Kronos, so by default,
But you're comfortable, we get rid of them, what we have and moving forward with,
Yes, what we currently have, we will continue to use. I would not recommend going with their UKG's payroll.
so
When we get into this money part of it, I haven't been involved at all. I don't know what Justin's
so is there a motion?
negotiating the emphasis.
Yes.
So has there been a direct billing that's come to the county already? It's been sitting there or?
No, so we've been billed, but then we've been told by UKG that it's paused. So we still get the quarterly bills, but we were told that they'll be set aside. You don't have to pay them.
Right.
So and that number was, again, was 14,700,
14,850.
14,000. Is there a motion to accept Ashley and Chad's recommendation as it relates to the 14,850?
Oh, no, wait, I'm not recommending we pay the 14,000.
Oh, okay. So is there a motion to Justin's work through this?
how about I just make a motion, it doesn't have to be based on anyone's recommendation, this is what has been negotiated by our attorney. To pay the 14,850
Mhm.
to get out of that contract and be done.
Is there a second to Troy's motion?
That's it.
We all got it.
Discussion. Thank you for the clarification there, Chad. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Now, is that it?
That's all I have other than the closed
You
session.
got, is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
10:51.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, who made it? What?
Yeah.
Doyle second.
How can they get it? Like you say, what
See the women, you know,
They are, oh, I haven't been by them.
and they're putting the front glass in.
Oh, that'd be nice there. The motion to go out of closed session at 11:20,
So move.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Are there any other committee reports? We did the ARPA request.
Pretty well covered, Mr. Chair.
If that's the case, then I'll adjourn the meeting at 11:20.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You do?
Still there.
Come on, you see how much rain you got up there?
I don't gotta go back.
Oh.